think of it, we don't use the strait. We're defending the strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. UK wants to send aircraft carriers down. And I said, I want the aircraft carriers before the war. I don't want them after the war is won. They want to send me aircraft carriers after the war. There's practically nobody to shoot at them.
Shalom, shalom. Before I get started, I want to go praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawahshi, bahasham, Rawchaa Qadash. It's the brother Yahawah here with another hopeful, edifying lesson to the elect body of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawahshi. You know what you just saw in the video is Trump calling out what it says in the title. Trump calls out NATO for not helping defend Strait of Hormuz, right? But you know, this was when did this happen? March 19th. But eventually they did. I mean, I just recently I think they came to an agreement to send some type of aid or assistance to secure on the Strait of Hormuz. And this is prophecy that from the elders and the apostles on down, been telling them, giving warning of this gathering of the heathen in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Middle East, Persian Gulf area, which where the valley, where the Strait of Hormuz is in the Persian Gulf. So he's gathering, Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawahshi through the wars, which is the third woe, which is we already in the beginning stages of. These wars and rumors of wars, which is a build up to the third woe, which is here, where the heathen are being gathered into the valley of Jehoshaphat, pursuant to the book of Joel, chapter 3, which we only get in. And Donald Trump is calling for NATO allies to assist them in securing it, which
they said that these earbuds were impossible. Well, it's a free. Well, let me first.
Which right here, it says group of 22 nations to secure Strait of Hormuz. NATO, Rudy says. So I'm gonna play this video, and we're gonna see what's going on according to the Bible.
Well, let me first of all say that I know there is a lot of debate in the US and in Europe whether this campaign of the president against Iran was necessary. And let me tell you, it is. It is crucial that the president, that the US is doing this. I know the president was angry because he feels that European and other allies have been too slow. The good news here is that since Thursday, a group of 22 countries, most of them from NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the UAE, and Bahrain, most of the other countries from NATO, coming together to implement his vision of making sure that the Strait of Hormuz is free, is opening up as soon as that is possible. When it comes to the Strait, what we need to do is to work together. These 22 nations, again, most of them from NATO, but also the other ones I mentioned, to work through what is needed, when is it needed, and how we will make this together as soon as the time is right to get this done, to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz opens up.
Oh, shit, Salakia.
Well,
so he said that there was 22 nations, majority of them from the from NATO, which is the 10 horns, which they're basically being drawn into this war, which in reality they don't want anything to do with. Right? It says NATO Security General Mark Rutte said that 22 countries, including NATO members, along with allies such as South Korea, Japan are coordinating efforts to reopen navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. So basically, as the small hats, or the least of the flock, Jeremiah 47, Jeremiah 49 and Jeremiah 50 had led or has drawn Babylon the Great out. Babylon the Great also is drawing NATO and the EU, the 10 horns, out to this war in what we know as the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is prophecy, right? Joel chapter 3, but we're going to find out where is have the Valley of Hormuz, which, just get a visual where it is. The Hormuz is right here, right? And this is the Persian Gulf, right? Which is the Middle East. This area is the Middle East, right? What they call the Middle East, right? Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz is here. The Persian Gulf, right? Where's the Persian Gulf? Which the men of the Lord has been giving out this prophecy and warning for some time now. A couple decades. The men of the Lord, from the elders and apostles on down, of course, have been given this warning out, and that is what you're witnessing right now, right? We're gonna get into the scripture. It's not gonna be too long of a lesson. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. Assemble yourself and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourself together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahawah. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." Right, so that's what you're witnessing. The Yahawah is manifesting right now, that these nations are gathering together in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the so-called Middle East area, right? The Persian Gulf, into this great war, which the Lord is going to judge these nations, which Jehoshaphat means Yahawah. It is Yahawah, what means the Lord judge, right? Yahawah, it means it says the Lord judges, Yahawah judgment, right? So that's where he's going to judge these heathens, as it says in verse 12. It says, "Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great." Right? So the Lord is going to tread basically that great wine press, which is the nation of Edom, from Isaiah 63, the book of Isaiah 63. Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come down, for the press is full. Their press is full of these Edomites about to be judged, but basically all these heathens, right? In this account, all these heathens are going to be judged in the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? It says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great, right? Verse 14 says, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord Yahawah, for the day of the Lord. Yahawah is near in the valley of decision, right? So I think I got a precept. Hold on. I think it's yeah, I gotta go back. Precept is in 12. Verse 15, it says the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, right? So that's that nuclear destruction that it's talking about, which I seen a post of Kim Jong-un. He said he's going to increase nuclear weapon production due to the Iranian situation with Babylon the Great and the lease of the flock, right? Going back to Joel chapter 3 and 12, I got a precept I wanted to bring out. Just read it again. It says Joel 3 and 12. It says, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Right? So the Lord says he's going to judge the heathen in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Middle East, what they call the Middle East, the Persian Gulf area, where they looking, Trump is looking for aid from NATO and the EU and his allies, which they don't want anything to do with it. That's what they were saying. Like, they were saying that they started this war for no reason, this, that, and the third. But they got a wound that they laid under a loon or a wound or a trap that they got for Babylon the Great and these small hats that they gonna shoot missiles on them. That's what we just read out of Joel, that the moon shall, so like, yeah. So like, the moon shall, verse 15 says the moon and the moon and the, so like, the sun and the moon shall be darkened and the stars shall withdraw their shining. That's that nuclear destruction, which they laid a wound or a trap for Babylon the Great and the small hats. They ain't gonna shoot missiles. They gonna help shoot missiles on Babylon the Great, aka America, right? So going back to this precept that I want to get for Joel chapter 3 and 12. This is the book of Zephaniah chapter 3. I'm gonna start at verse 1 and jump down, right? This is the book of Zephaniah chapter 3 and 1. It says, woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city, right? So that oppressing city represents America currently in the modern sense. Zephaniah chapter 3 and jump down to verse 6. It says, I have cut off all the nations, their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passes by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is none inhabitant. Right. So the Lord is gonna that's what he's gonna do to Babylon the Great. Ultimately, no man shall abide here. Right. I have cut off the nations, their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passes by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is no inhabitant. Right. So these nations are gonna get hit with nuclear missiles, but Babylon the Great is gonna be completely wiped out, right? And Israel, but no man is gonna abide in Babylon the Great. Verse 7, it says, I said, surely thou wilt fear me, thou wilt receive instruction, so their dwellings should not be cut off. Howsoever I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all they're doing, right? It's talking about Israel. Verse 8, it says, therefore, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahawah, until the day that I rise up to the prey, the day of the Lord, right? For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, right? So our Lord that fire is gonna come from the nuclear missiles, the ICBM nuclear missiles, and the chariots, you know, the so-called UFOs, UAPs, chariots of the Lord, with those laser beams. So I'm gonna read this out of Amplified, and that should be it. And that's what you're witnessing: the Lord gathering these nations, these heathens, into the valley of Jehoshaphat, where He's gonna judge them ultimately in the third world's war, which is the third woe. Zephaniah 3:8 Amplified. It says, therefore, you of the godly remnant of Judah, patiently wait for me, right? The remnant, right? The elect, declares the Lord Yahawah. Wait for the day when I will rise up as a witness against the nations, for it is my decision and my right to gather the nations, to assemble kingdoms, to pour out on them my indignation, all the heat of my burning anger. For in that day all the earth shall be consumed by fire. In that day all the earth shall be consumed by the fire of my zeal, right? So that's going to come by way of the earth means like it says, just the ground, right? That's what it means. The ground, that ground is wherever these missiles hit. That earth, that portion of earth, is going to be consumed in Babylon the Great, along with the Izzy state. They're going to be ultimately consumed, with these nuclear missiles. And these other heathen nations, their allies, they're going to help shoot missiles on this place, help shoot missiles on Babylon the Great, and the Izzy state, right? Because they initially didn't want to have anything to do with it. They were saying it was illegal. I knew they was going to do that, but there's some talk about what Russia and China, how they feel about this Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz, what they're doing. It says it's gonna go to a commercial.
I have a question. You can ask me anything. Let's bring in Scripps News.
So it says how Russia and China could block efforts to reopen Strait of Hormuz. So whatever this opposition, this is Gog and Magog forming against Babylon the Great, that great whore with the beast system. That's gonna the two ultimate forces basically in this third woe. So they said how China, which is Russia, which is led by Russia, right, and with the BRIC nations basically, which China is a part of the BRIC nation, Iran also, South America, and what is that? BRICS nations. What is it? BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, right? Brazil is a part of it. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and the damn, I think it's South Africa. I think that's the BRICS nations, if I'm not mistaken. But it says Russia and China could block efforts to reopen Strait of Hormuz. Which I'm gonna just play this, and this should be the end. Cause like I said, these are the two powerhouses, basically, Russia and the U.S. Babylon the Great. Russia and America and Russia, which is in the Bible, is Babylon the Great and Gog and Magog. These are the two powerhouses that is going to form this third world war, bringing about this nuclear destruction. So I'm gonna just play this video here, and this should be it.
International correspondent Ross Cullen live from a border crossing between Iran and Turkey. And Ross, the war now been going on for more than 3 weeks. What are you seeing there on that border? Yeah, good morning, Holly, from the Kapakoi border crossing between Turkey, where I am, and Iran, just the other side of the border gate. So you can see people here arriving from Iran, having fled the country. There are also this way people going back into Iran. We've seen hundreds of people doing that in the time that we've been here today. People returning for work, people returning to see their families, people who've perhaps come to Turkey for a couple of days to try to escape the war, then they have to return to Tehran. So that's the situation that we're seeing here on the border. There is a lot of movement, but it's mostly calm. We're not seeing huge numbers of refugees, for example, streaming in to the country of Turkey. It's mostly orderly here on the border where I am. And Ross, Bahrain submitted a resolution that would authorize countries to use, quote, all necessary means, they said, to protect commercial shipping in and out of and around the Strait of Hormuz. Can you give us an update on that front? Yeah, so that's Bahrain's draft resolution that's likely to have US support. It's got the support of Gulf Arab states as well when it says use all necessary means. That can sometimes be diplomatic speak for force, if necessary, to try to get the Gulf moving towards the Strait of Hormuz, get the Strait of Hormuz cleared, get that blockade unblocked, and get maritime traffic moving again. However, it is unlikely to pass because Russia and China both have veto power at the United Nations Security Council, and either one of them is likely to veto this specific resolution. But it shows there are attempts now by the Gulf states and at United Nations level to try to deal with the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Holly? All right, Scripps.
So it says that they got veto power in the United Nations, China and Russia, which Russia is going to be a guard unto them, Iran, these other nations. That's pursuing the Ezekiel chapter 38. If I'm not mistaken, I'm just go there. Like I said, I said this was going to be the end, but I'm just make sure I got the right chapter. Yeah, Ezekiel 38. That's where that's Gog and Magog, which is Russia. So I'm gonna go in and off there. Who was edifying to the elect? I don't want to say call Halayim La, Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawahshi, bahasham, Rawchaa Qadash. Shalom till the next time. Yahawah Ratazah, which means Lord willing. And why, ba, ba,